I'm from a family of people that just don't trust banks. So everything just aligned. And then I started hearing stuff about them using mining with excess, using excess capacity on the power grid to mine Bitcoin. And I was like, wow, I'm living in the best place in the world right now to be interested in what I'm interested in. And yeah, it's just really exciting that this event was such a success the first year that we're able to expand. The Bitcoin MENA specifically, I felt this region really needed to have a Bitcoin-only conference.
Gregg Davis is a builder of Bitcoin's presence in the Middle East, the kind of operator who doesn't just talk adoption, he creates the rooms where it happens. Bitcoin MENA is that room. It's the Middle East's gateway into the global Bitcoin movement. Hosted in Abu Dhabi, where capital, energy, and ambition move fast, the conference brings together leaders, institutions, and communities to push Bitcoin forward, not as a trend, but as a foundation for the next era of money in MENA, Bitcoin. MENA isn't just an event, it's a signal that this region is stepping into Bitcoin early and with weight.
I believe that this event in this region could be bigger than our US event.
If somebody has never been in Bitcoin conference before, what makes it MENA different from Miami and Vegas?
I love that question.
Welcome to Crypto OGs.
Welcome to Crypto OGs. Today we have Mr. Gregg Davis from Bitcoin MENA. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Pleasure.
Greg, you are helping MENA region to understand what is Bitcoin. So let's start at the beginning. What is Bitcoin MENA? Let's go straight to the point. What is Bitcoin MENA and how did it come to life? And why do you believe it matters for Bitcoin globally?
Yeah, Bitcoin MENA specifically, I felt this region really needed to have a Bitcoin-only conference.
Okay.
We have a lot of amazing events here that are for the sort of broader crypto universe and also the broader sort of finance, commodities. We have an event for everything. And what I was feeling when I was going to a lot of the crypto events, that people were really missing the fundamentals of it. And there was a lot of people, let's say, creating solutions for problems that don't really exist, let's say. So I'm from a family of people that just don't trust banks and that sort of stuff. So when I kind of discovered Bitcoin and then I went the crypto, everyone goes on that journey, right? You kind of had some Bitcoin and then you kind of think, oh, well, maybe Ethereum's better, and you kind of go through the journey. It became really, really apparent to me that a lot of the problems in the world were due to, really, really bad fiscal policy by governments and quantitative easing and, cheap debt and debt-based currencies. So then when I started to really see or really go down the rabbit hole, let's say, Bitcoin really stood out as like the only thing that really had the properties that I was looking for. And when I was going to these events in the region, I was just feeling that people were kind of trying to skip to stage 3, let's say. And actually, I made the mistake of discovering Bitcoin, going on the journey, and then coming back and finding it. So I really wanted to have an event here that was really speaking to the asset that is Bitcoin, and the timing of it's amazing as well because of the, let's say, the maturing conditions of the asset. Abu Dhabi is kind of the big older brother in the country as well, and he's, it's where the central bank is, it's where the power is. They were doing a lot of exciting stuff with Bitcoin mining, etc. So I've lived here for a long time. So when I was seeing what was happening in the crypto events, I was seeing what's happening in Abu Dhabi. I was seeing, what was happening in Bitcoin more broadly. It was really maturing. We reached out so I wasn't working for BTC Inc. at the time. I was actually working at the venue where we do the event. My background's not the sort of trader or finance guy or anything. My background's waterfronts and marinas. So I was down there running their waterfront, and I'd sort of just started sending some messages on Twitter to people at BTC Inc. and was like, I really think that this region needs to have a Bitcoin only voice. And they loved the optics, and that's how it kind of was born,
So basically you were like the Satoshi Nakamoto of events in Abu Dhabi. Because let's go back a little bit. So in my experience also with crypto, right? everything started with Bitcoin, and then went to the rabbit hole again.
Yep.
But the first solution that I saw, it was they were talking about M-Pesa on YouTube, right? M-Pesa in Africa, there was the SMS, then you could top it up, and then you can go and pay the. And that fascinated me. And then when I understood, okay, you can send assets from one side to another side, with like instantly, that changed my mind.
Yeah.
But then I went to the rabbit hole, and then I left Bitcoin for a bit, and then I get back. But your experience about reaching out the Bitcoin conference and telling, hey, look, we need this. It seemed what Satoshi Nakamoto did, reaching out everybody by email, saying, I have this peer-to-peer transaction technology. Can you help me? And then 2-3 people start to mine. It's amazing how people still don't know what is the whole story behind Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And some of them, they have Bitcoin. My mother-in-law, she has some Bitcoin, but she doesn't understand the technology. She just believes in what I told her back then in 2020, and she's happy. But I think so we need to go back to the roots.
Yeah.
When you read the white paper, obviously it's not that technical, but for somebody it probably could be too technical. But when you check the philosophy behind, that's what makes it better. And going to Bitcoin MENA, it's still a young conference, right? It's still very young. What do you want to be the very first edition to prove to the world about Abu Dhabi and the Middle East, and no other city or another country it was ready for Bitcoin MENA?
Yeah, I mean, the first year was, 2024, when it comes to anybody that's maybe listening that has been involved with organizing events, it's a tough game. There's so many different moving parts, etc. We were very lucky though last year. I would say lucky, but when some sort of stars align, let's say, we were really we were in a good spot throughout kind of the sort of process of formulating the first year in 24. But then we had, obviously my company, David was very involved with sort of campaigning and raising funds for the Trump campaign. So that was kind of in the public sphere. So our speaker list speaker card at MENA 24 was quite heavy on sort of like the Trump universe.
I remember.
So the fact that, I'm English, but I don't particularly, resonate with Republican politics or Donald Trump even, but certainly for a Bitcoin perspective, for my conference perspective, and for Bitcoin's perspective, I was certainly hoping for a Trump victory more than I probably have been looking forward to a political result ever, really, even in my own country, just because I felt that there was so much riding on it for Bitcoin, but also for my conference. So we had quite a lot of speakers in 24, which were in that, it was like their first international sort of appearance post sort of election result. We had 100K for the first time, which was like 4 days or something just before the conference opened. So we had a lot of combinating factors. But I think also, it was just coming off the back of like the ETF launches, we had the tagline last year, which was the golden age of Bitcoin. So we really wanted to position this as, a conference which is in the city, which is really forward thinking, which has got regulatory clarity, it's got energy abundance, it's got sovereign wealth, and at this time in Bitcoin as well, we really wanted to try and put on a conference which was no gimmicks. You see a lot of the crypto events, there's a few gimmicks there, which are cool. Like, if you're trying to attract a wide audience, it's good to have engaging features and all these things. But we really wanted to make this event a strong place for people to really connect. And we've kind of expanded down that this year. But, really, really strong networking areas, really strong content, plenty of seats in our stages so people can really get a lot out of the content. So there was just lots of things that kind of aligned, and I think the approach that we took with trying to make it a really like sophisticated event for the sophisticated sort of stage of the Bitcoin life cycle that we were at. I think that's what we were trying to do with this event, and we're certainly trying to do that again this year. We learned a lot of lessons last year. I'm sure you're going to ask me a lot about 2025 coming up in a few days, but there was Abu Dhabi is just absolutely primed, and I'm not saying Dubai isn't or anywhere else in the world isn't, but we're really happy at the moment with our decision to launch last year in Abu Dhabi, and we're going to be there for the foreseeable, let's say.
For me, it was I went last year as well. I'm going to be honest. I didn't buy a ticket. I think so. Somebody told me there's a Bitcoin MENA event. I said, okay, I'll give it a go. Like, with all the events that happened. But in Abu Dhabi was different, and I took my team there. And one of my friends from one of the exchanges, he said, Andre, what are you doing here? I said, I just came to say, why you're not creating content? You are not doing podcasts. You are not a speaker. I said, no, I just came just to see what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, no, you need to have this and this and blah, blah, blah. So I stayed like for 5 hours, and I saw Eric. And I was like, everybody went crazy. Everybody was wearing the red hats. But the energy was unmatched. And then I went to Vegas as well.
Good.
Vegas was massive because Vegas was amazing seeing all these people on stage, all the politicians, let's say like that, but also the OGs.
Yeah. And
then our good friend just came out after 10 years in jail.
Amazing.
And then he...
Oh, dude, that makes my hair stand up,
You see?
Like, that was... like, there is some things that... Our new CEO, Brandon, has got... I mean, it's not his saying, but he always says, like, you meme stuff into existence.
Yes.
And, there is something that seems to work in the way in which people consume media these days, that if people keep memeing things enough and saying things enough online, it seems to just happen. And... obviously, I've not been with the company that long, but, I know that BTC Inc. were extremely, supportive of the Ulbricht family. And
he was amazing.
To see him come out on stage was truly amazing.
That was one of my highlights because I've been reading about Bitcoin books for a long time, from Digital Gold by Nathaniel Popper, the Untold Story of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Billionaires. I've read a lot. And so all of these people on the books, I get to know them, the twins from Gemini, all of these guys. But something that also fascinates me is Vegas, going back to Vegas, my friend Bilal, he's my good friend like for 4 years, and see him on a stage talking from a crypto bro to a politician he's the head of Crypto Council Pakistan.
Yeah. He's speaking in this year at MENA, right?
So he's my friend, but he was a crypto bro, and now he's a politician. He said, Andres, now it's crypto diplomacy times. Okay.
Nice.
It's a nice concept. But now to talk about 2025, obviously it's the second year. People is more ready, more prepared. I bet everybody now wants to come based on what happened last year and based on what happened with the lineup of guests that you have. You have Cici as well. You have Michael Saylor coming. It's a good bunch of people coming. So what is the most in terms of audience, right? Energy, but the most important, the conversation happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's the exciting bit for me. Is not just you see lots of really like crowds of people. That's amazing. You see all the big speakers. That's amazing. But I think I've said this in a couple of other places is. Like the one thing that really was exciting for me during that conference was there's obviously the people that turn up with the fanfare, with the security, with the protocol teams, and everybody knows who's there at that time. But certainly, from our side specifically, BTC Inc. team, we were coming off the back of the the quite important influence that we had on the election. We had David obviously being a confidant of Trump, but we had Steve Witkoff, who is now a full-time special envoy for the Middle East, Paul Manafort as well, Trump's campaign guy and a very, very influential and very well-connected person in this region. Everybody wanted to speak to them.
Yeah, all the time.
Everybody but I'm not talking like people on the show floor. I'm talking like we had back-to-back meetings scheduled up in some of the capital suites that were people that were coming in from around the region with no protocol, no security guards. They've just got one handler dressed completely normally going in for sort of heavy meetings with what is now the kind of special envoy to the Middle East. And, there was lots of those conversations that were going on during that event, which I think we're starting to see some of the fruits of that coming out now. But certainly when it comes into 2025, we're definitely in there's definitely a different feeling, right?
Yeah.
I've definitely got a different feeling. I mean, I'm talking more just broadly around like the Bitcoin price. I think it's just fascinating to me still. And I guess I've got a beautiful wife, but I don't have any kids yet, so I have some time on my hands. So I've definitely done maybe not as much reading as you have, but I've done plenty. And it's just fascinating to me that the human psychology with this thing. Like we're now at what is it 90? What we're back at 87 now, something like that.
I haven't checked this morning.
What are we today? Yeah, I haven't even looked this morning. Let me just check. Actually,
today's 26.
87. Yeah,
87.
So at 87, we're lower than where we were, coming into the conference last year. It hasn't changed too much on the sentiment when it comes to like ticket sales and things like that. But it's just it's interesting to me when it comes to like I'm sure you get it as well, the amount of phone calls that you get from people. When Bitcoin's 124K, your phone is going off, I'm sure, all the time.
More
like,
than my birthday.
What's going on? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then Bitcoin's on a 30% discount.
Nobody's calling.
Nobody wants to call because I don't think anybody's done the research. And that's one thing that we've really tried to do this year in 25 is try and open the scope a little bit. And I think the fact that the price is down, our approach has worked in the fact that we've created general admission tickets this year. We've put them down. They were $21. They've just raised, but we had a long 7-month calendar where we would reduce the tickets quite considerably because we wanted to try and attract a broader broach of people. Where maybe last year people were just Bitcoin curious and they turned up and the content maybe missed them slightly. We've really tried to attract a wider group of people. We've brought in some content earlier on in the days, which are kind of an intro to Bitcoin, let's say, and tried to do things a little bit differently that way. But yeah, it's fascinating to me that I'm not getting completely hassled for tickets this year from people, which I'm talking about my friends personally. Like maybe last year it was because we just hit 100K and it's on the news all the time.
So I want to come.
Yeah. So I put a few posts on my socials or whatever, and everyone's like, oh yeah, can I come? This year it's a bit more, I'm seeing a really solid ticket flow and we're way ahead of where we were, like more broadly. But it just seems like there's the psychology of the humans when it comes to Bitcoin and buying it and interest, and it's so detached from price. It's like when it's down, nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how that conversation is different this year, because last year it was, at the event it was just everyone was talking about 100K, fill your bags. This is the start. Trump's coming in January. Like it's all going to be, it's all going to change. We're going to be at 250K by next year. But I think anybody that's been in Bitcoin long enough knows that it's all about just staying humble, stacking stats, being patient, and that's what we try to convey that. I mean, and this year is going to be definitely. I'm really excited. It's an event is a first year, right? You never really expect to get anywhere with an event in a new market until sort of the third and fourth year. Mm-hmm. We had a lot of stars aligning last year, and this year with the price down and whatever, but we're still seeing quite a lot of strong tickets from sort of the wider market, but still the sentiment's a bit weird at the moment. It's going to be really interesting to see what that type of conversation is going to be like this year, compared to like the frothy post-election, post 100K hype, just to see this event in like a bit more of a cooler year. I think that's going to be really fascinating for me.
It reminded me of the events in 2022 after FTX collapse. All the events that year, everybody was like, okay, let's humble ourselves because it's time to build again. And I think that's where we are again, right? So I'm just seeing, for example, Michael Saylor coming as a main speaker, Cici as well, especially that he's from this region now. It's quite fascinating. I'm talking about regions. If somebody has never been in Bitcoin conference before, what makes MENA different from Miami and Vegas? Like, not in the format, but in the meaning. Why is so different to Vegas and Miami? I've never been in the Miami one, but I've seen so many from my friends been. I've been in Vegas, and I've been in Abu Dhabi one. But why make it so different?
You didn't come to Hong Kong or Amsterdam?
No.
Okay, so yeah, I mean,
maybe one day.
Yeah, you should. It's quite cool actually, and I've been sort of talking about this quite a lot recently, especially to some partners here regionally. like Amsterdam is a lot. We've just had Amsterdam, incredible success this year. You see a lot more kind of discussion about regulation, KYC, AML, self-sovereignty, self-custody, cypherpunk. This more kind of, I think it's a bit of a sign of the times, potentially what's happening in Europe as well. But yeah, a lot more of that kind of angle, let's say. Asia was a lot more L2s, meme coins on Bitcoin, a bit more speculative, which is quite fascinating to me because I spent a bit of time in China when I was like 19 or something, and I found the censorship just fascinating, actually. But it's interesting to me that a place like that, where it has got such strict kind of capital controls to a certain degree in Hong Kong compared to mainland China, is obviously different, but it's interesting to me that like self-custody and self-sovereignty isn't something that is really in front of center of mind in Hong Kong. So yeah, all of our events are different. Amsterdam is a bit more kind of self-sovereignty. Asia's a bit more kind of speculative, L2, stable coins, this sort of stuff. America's certainly our flagship, so it's got a bit of everything. We do, especially when we had it in Nashville, and we do get it as well in Abu Dhabi, in Vegas, which is similar to Abu Dhabi. It's kind of like the energy angle, and that's something that I think is extremely different. Like a really extreme USP for this event is that we're hosting it in a country which is known for its oil and gas, of course, but is becoming an extremely important global player when it comes to energy, whether that be nuclear, whether that be solar, whatever innovations that are doing in the renewable sector. So being the fact that the entire consensus net mechanism runs on energy, there is certainly that component of why Bitcoin MENA is different to our other events, and also the kind of the sovereign elements of it. We've seen some of the big sovereign wealth funds here in the UAE that are purchasing Bitcoin. So there is, I would say, just a bit more of a energy and kind of nation state adoption, regulatory kind of angle here, as opposed to sort of the other events, which are a little bit more focused on different angles, let's say.
You just answered my question. I was going to ask, what's one moment from Bitcoin MENA that made you think, okay, Bitcoin in the region is real now? You just answered because of the...
Yeah, I can elaborate, but certainly, I've lived here. I don't know how many years you lived here for.
Only 2 years.
2 years, yeah. I've lived here for 10 years now.
Wow.
And, especially when you're looking at what's happening in Europe, particularly. But I think I was just quite lucky. The fact that my industry that I was working in at the time there was a big desire for those sort of people here. But being here and then getting interested in, first of all, like gold, and then Bitcoin, and then getting into macroeconomics, and then trying to understand what the future is going to look like with AI. And then you're seeing when Trump came here, and some of our leaders have been to the UAE, been to the US. You can really see that this region is just, I kind of saw it a few years ago. I think I'm not saying that I was, reading the future or anything, but you could just kind of see what was going on. Yeah. I could see that, there was just a bit of decline going on in places that I was going to, but this place just seemed to just complete. Yeah, I did arrive in a bit of a downturn, and there has been a few ups and down cycles, of course, as this place matures, but a bit like Bitcoin. But I just knew that the kind of offering here in the UAE, because I was working in exhibition world, right? Not every country is suited to hold like a big 10,000 plus event, right? You can do them anywhere, but if you want people to travel here, it's really geographically sound. The infrastructure's there is great. There's plenty of things
hotels
to help,
everywhere.
to build out your trip and make it sort of a few days as opposed to just 2 days, 3 days. So everything just aligned. And then I started hearing stuff about, them using mining with excess, using excess capacity on the power grid to mine Bitcoin. And I was like, wow, I'm living in the best place in the world right now to be interested in what I'm interested in. And yeah, it's just really exciting that this event was such a success the first year, that we're able to expand. And then we can also expand on, the wider stuff that BTC Inc. has, right? So we've got the Bitcoin magazine. We would like to be in a place which, I don't think it's going to get launched now in time, but there's a few deals that are going on in place. But, having Bitcoin magazine in Arabic, having, the conference obviously here, but then also having, our education arm here. Well, it's not a whole education arm, but we've got like Bitcoin for Corporations, which kind of is like a masterclass or a union of companies that are all looking about adopting Bitcoin as a treasury asset. So that sort of business here, mixed with the magazine, mixed with the conference, like I think this region is, if you are seriously operating in this business in the world anywhere, I mean, if you're not doing it here, or you're not at least spending a large portion of your time or trying to develop business here, I think you're missing the trick. Yeah.
And this actually will take me to my next question, because you've been here a long time in the region, and obviously we're having the second version of Bitcoin MENA. From what you've seen, who is driving adoption first in MENA? Retail users, miners or tech builders, family offices, governments, exchanges, or like what would you think, who is driving the whole adoption in MENA?
Well, I mean, retail for sure at the moment. I mean, we've got one of the highest percentages of, I would say, crypto broadly adoption in the world. I do worry that a lot of these people are probably using the word investing and investing in something which, in my opinion, is purely speculative. But certainly, I think there is. Look, I think when it comes to like retail and like general adoption, let's say, I've got this theory which I've heard from a few different places now, but people will figure out that Bitcoin's important and that they need it for their future when it becomes really urgent for them to understand it.
Okay.
You see what I mean? In the fact that people you've got great adoption in Turkey, you've got great adoption in Nigeria. When it comes to like people that are like the general public that are battling, hyperinflation. Peter McCormack talks about when he went on did a documentary in Argentina, that there's like the wife of the house, let's say, who was managing the house. She's got two jobs. She's got a job where she goes to work, and her second job is basically CFO for the household. Because as soon as that currency came into the house, she had to do something with it in order to maintain the purchasing power, right? So she had to like buy this or buy that just to hold the value, because I think it's the peso, right?
Yeah,
Argentina was just
peso,
bleeding like purchasing power. So when you're in the West, or certainly in a country like this where your currency is pretty strong compared to some of the other ones around the world, you're losing 7-10% a year. It's kind of steady and gradual. So it's like it's just enough to be annoying, but not enough for you to go, right, I need to figure how this is going wrong for me. I'm working harder, I'm earning more money, but I'm poorer. So I think like retail adoption is quite a difficult one. I think it gets you when you realize that there's a problem. So I'll say that about and especially this place here has got so many people from all over the world, right? So I think Bitcoin is different for most people. If you're a Westerner and you can go, let's say a British person, for example, you've got options with your cash, right? You can put it into a high interest bank account. You can maybe put it into
stocks,
a bond or a stock market app or something like that. A lot of people around the world don't have these options or have the like thresholds to be able to get there. So I think you kind of get Bitcoin when you start to understand the flaws of fiat currency and why you start to understand like this is a rigged system and I'm on the wrong side of it. I think that's where retail comes in. When it comes to like sovereigns and all of that sort of stuff, my feeling is just that you obviously need to be careful how you say these types of things, but the more I'm getting a bit older now, I turned 40 recently, so I'm
still young.
Yeah, okay.
I'm 41, so you're very young.
So when it comes to that, when you get to that sort of age and you kind of you start to look at the world a little bit differently, let's say, and I'm at a point now where I think that if you're a CFO of a company, let's say if you're a family office CFO, if you're a government, if you're working in the the financial elements of the government, or if you're in a company, I truly believe within 5 years, if you haven't studied and at least proposed Bitcoin in some way into your business, I think that you're going to be probably out of a job as a CFO.
Wow,
that's my
I
opinion.
like that.
I think that you'll be seen to have like missed one of the most important financial innovations of humanity, in my opinion. So if you're somebody who just won't do the work and just poo-poo it, like some governments around the world are now, like, oh, we will never have Bitcoin in a strategic reserve, we will never do this. These people are going to eat their words. And Germany sold a whole bunch of Bitcoin.
UK selling.
Really, I can't even. It's the budget today in the UK, right? There's a big. I won't change my words too much, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting day in England. But it's just you're really going to see when it comes to, in my opinion, whether you're retail, whether you're sovereign wealth, whether you're a government, whether you're a company, time will be the best source of truth here. And it's not for everybody, but I genuinely think that if you haven't considered this, you're going to be in a really, really, really bad position. Yeah.
You're going to be left out. And you mentioned something very important about, okay, if you're a CFO of a wealth management group or a hedge fund or a family office, but this happened before, right? Now they change the big companies, they change this narrative. Like the company, I won't mention which ones, but 4 or 5 years ago, they were saying Bitcoin scam. Now they have thousands of Bitcoin reserve.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the region. How do gold family offices and sovereign wealth players in the region think about Bitcoin today compared to 2 years ago? What flipped their mindset in the region, not global, in here?
Well, I think we don't operate in a complete vacuum here in the UAE, right? I mean, our money is pegged to the dollar.
Yeah.
A lot of things that happen. I mean, every industry. If America makes a move or makes a big change and pivot, then it's seen as like, oh, okay, this is okay for us to do now. The ETF changed everything. I mean, as soon as somebody referred to it as when Biden and the Democratic administration was in the UAE, in the US. It was like this industry had like a 20-mile-an-hour headwind the whole time.
Yeah.
Operation Choke Point and all those sorts of things. It was just a complete barrage from head on. This industry which was trying to innovate, trying to do really big things, was just always facing challenges legally or from oversight, etc. The Trump administration has turn that 20-mile-an-hour headwind into a 20-mile-an-hour tailwind.
Probably 50.
Well, maybe like 50, yeah. So I certainly think a softening approach to this asset in the US has done unbelievable amounts for just global decision makers, like perspectives of this asset. And particularly Bitcoin, right? I mean, I talk about Bitcoin because that's the only thing that I truly think has got any value. And I think some of the things that are happening in crypto are quite interesting, and probably have got some cool usability in the future. But when it comes to the fundamental problem that I think with the world is just broken money, and to really see like the powerhouse of the world completely change their approach to Bitcoin. BlackRock releases the ETF, then you have another however many, 12, 14 ETFs. The performance of those ETFs since they've been launched, the best performing ETFs that have ever been launched, I think that just made everybody, we're still not quite there yet, right? Yes, we've seen sovereign wealth funds and certainly governments, changing their approach to Bitcoin now. I think sure Texas yesterday bought like $100 million or something.
100 million,
yeah. So that's amazing, but I think there's definitely that's just changed the game entirely. When you've got Larry Fink and you've got Donald Trump and you've got some of the key players in the world changing their tact 180 degrees, it's just made everybody just go, right, okay, I really need, this is no joke anymore. We've gone from kind of geeks in their mom's basements to
the big guys.
The vice president of the United States standing on a Bitcoin conference stage in Las Vegas talking about how strategically important Bitcoin is. What sort of world do we live in? It was amazing to get Donald Trump at Nashville in 2024.
Yeah.
And some people, it's like some people that, when you like a band and then you find them early and then loads of people become really, they start to really like the band, and then you just stop liking the band so much because they became popular, right? I know there's a lot of people that are in Bitcoin that really, and I'm speaking from somebody that hasn't been in. I always say I'm standing on the shoulders of giants from the people that have been there before me, and I'm just trying to do what I can. But it's just fascinating to me that we've gone from, people in their basements and talking about Bitcoin to then all of a sudden,
vice president.
Trump was a candidate, so that was big, and he's obviously a bigger name. But an actual sitting, he was in office, vice president of the United States, speaking at a Bitcoin conference. It's just you can't deny now that this thing has hit critical mass and is not going anywhere. It's died 30 times in its life. It's really exciting times, and I think we're only going to see that sort of expand now. Yeah.
I've been in crypto, as I say, since 2015.
You say you're a crypto guy, so do you still invest in other crypto tokens as well?
I'm mainly going back to Bitcoin.
Okay.
But that's the next question I want to ask you, because I think so. This is the main question that retail have that have been jumping to Bitcoin, or investors have that want to jump into crypto. So, and especially in the region, what are the biggest real barriers to Bitcoin adoption in MENA right now? Is like cultural, regulatory, infrastructure, or something else people don't talk about?
Yeah, compared to most places in the world, let's use England for example, right? If I want to open a Strike account, Jack Mallers' Strike. If I want to open a Strike account, just do a dollar cost average and buy Bitcoin. It's a Bitcoin only app as well, by the way. There's no other speculative tokens. You have to answer for like 17 questions from the FCA about, crazy questions as well, really difficult ones. Here, you have to do a bit of KYC and whatever, but and please, Emirates NBD, I don't know if you're listening to me, but I've never had a problem with, as long as it's like an exchange and you're registered.
And you have KYC.
I've never had a problem buying Bitcoin. Certainly, I think there is pros to having non-KYC Bitcoin, but that's a different story. But when it comes to actually just accumulating, I've not seen any. I've not personally experienced. I know some people have experienced issues. So, what are the challenges that face this region? I think there's certainly, there's banking practices in this part of the region, like Sharia compliant financial products, etc. You can speak to what's his name, Ralph. What's his name? Harris Ifran, who used to work, he was speaking at MENA last year, who used to work for Deutsche Bank here in the 70s. And he's basically come to the conclusion that, I think a lot of people in the Islamic world have just sort of kind of discovered now that actually Bitcoin is more Sharia compliant than, it may not seem it from the kind of outset, but once you dig deeply, you actually see that this thing is actually much more compliant in that way than fiat currency is. So I don't really think we've got cultural problems anymore. I don't think that exists. I don't think that we really have any kind of boundaries for people just purchasing. And I think what they've done really well here is they've tried to keep it as legitimate as possible, which some people won't like, some people will like. But I think when it comes to Bitcoin, it just needs to be separated entirely from the rest of it. And that's what my company preaches. That's what my conference will preach, is that if you're talking about cryptocurrencies and you want to start buying, coins that I would call them altcoins for the basis of not swearing, but when it comes to Bitcoin, it should be treated completely differently, in my opinion. And I hope that the country will do exactly what the SEC's done and say, like, this is an asset, this is completely different, this is a security, this is treated differently. But if it comes to like Bitcoin, dollar cost average, really, really sensible purchases, and you're not doing high leverage trading, you're just buying spot regularly and you're using it as a savings tool. I think this region has got I don't think you've got any challenges in this region when you're trying to do
I agree
sensible
with you.
stuff like that.
I have two more questions. The first one is 3 questions in one.
Yeah.
So what is so we have Bitcoin MENA coming, right? In 2 weeks from today, kind of.
Today is Wednesday, right?
Wednesday, yeah.
We will be closed in 2 weeks today, actually.
So
it's
Monday
11
the
days.
8th.
Yeah, Monday the 8th we open, yeah.
So what, let's say 3 panels or 3 keynotes are you the most excited about it?
Oh, good question. I won't say the one that I'm moderating. That would be pretty lame. Well, look, there's one person really. There's obviously a lot, but there's one person I'm really excited to hear talk. He's not, for some reason, one of these Bitcoiners that is either, I don't know, we're in a bit of a ecosphere or whatever we call it when it comes to X. His name's Simon Dixon. He does a Bitcoin podcast which is called Bitcoin Hard Talk.
Okay.
What I like about him is his podcasts don't have any adverts. He does 3 hours a week, and he is somebody that bought Bitcoin very early, invested in a lot of early Bitcoin companies. He really preaches about owning more Bitcoin this month than you do last month. Wow. And he talks a lot about how the proof of work mechanism is a kind of is a way to sort of garner peace, particularly regionally. So we've got him, which I'm super excited. I'm a fan of his. He doesn't seem to be that well followed online. He's got like a few 100,000 followers, but he's a big deal in my world. Deal. I like him. I think he's got.
When is that one? Monday or Tuesday?
He is on Monday, about 3 o'clock, I think.
Okay,
it is.
so you have
look out for Simon Dixon. I'm personally, like, obviously Saylor will probably steal the headlines or whatever, but my feeling when I approached the programming department, I said, look, Simon's always talking about the Middle East. He's very, very bullish on the Middle East. And I was like, I think we should just ask him. He doesn't really speak very often. And he was actually really keen to come. So I think when it comes to like sound bites and snippets, and I think that's going to be one which is going to be really, really, it's going to be really, really cool.
I'll be there with my camera.
Yeah. So that's one I'm certainly looking forward to. I mean, I can't argue. It's probably not right of me to say, but I'm quite looking forward to hearing Saylor talk, because obviously MicroStrategy, I've heard him speak in Prague, and he obviously speaks at our events around the world, but it's going to be interesting to see him talk about Bitcoin in this region for the first time, particularly when MicroStrategy has been getting bashed quite a lot, not just in the markets, but also online recently. So it's going to be interesting to see if he sort of changes his tack a little bit. I don't think he will be. He'd just be buying Bitcoin forever. I mean, that's what Michael Saylor does, right? So I'm excited about that. There's quite a few, we've got quite a few cool panels, a lot talking around kind of integration with AI infrastructure. That stuff's fascinating to me. The fact that AI is here to stay and is only going to explode, and the power demands for the data centers, but the power demands of AI data centers, they've not got a stable load. And what Bitcoin mining can do is it can coexist inside of these data centers and help to steady the draw on the power grid. Those sorts of conversations, especially with what's being built in Abu Dhabi and some of the investments we've seen between the US and America in AI. I'm really excited for some of these important people that are going to be in the room that are going to really. I mean, it happened last year, but you can almost see like the penny drop with some people. And I think we spoke just before we started that it's really interesting at this stage in Bitcoin that there's totally different types of people and you're coming in from totally different conversations now. So it always used to be about broken money and self-sovereignty because we're talking decentralization. We're talking like
no banks.
Now we're talking to like guys in suits that are seeing the performance of the ETF and they're like coming down, but they're coming from this. Why is this asset performing? They've not seen any of the fundamentals. It's a totally different conversation. And I remember being in a few rooms last year and certainly this year when you start to talk to people about how you can make renewable energy infrastructure more viable by hosting Bitcoin mining at the site of energy production. And they're like, well, hang on. So that means we won't need batteries anymore. I'm like, yeah. So it's actually more environmentally friendly because you don't have to go and dig cobalt out of the floor and put loads of people at risk that are mining that. You can actually just see these are like super smart people. I was walking around Adipec, the big oil and gas event down there, and I was wearing
Bitcoin hat.
I'm wearing my Bitcoin hat because I just thought that was the amount of people that would just come up to me and be like, what's a Bitcoin guy doing here? And it's like, well, do you know this? Do you know that energy is like the fundamental element of the consensus proof of work mechanism that is Bitcoin? Do you know that it can make energy infrastructures way more viable? Do you know that it can make, it can help with curtailment and all these things? And and it's weird because I just find that I know these things just because I'm a loser and I spend my Friday nights listening to Bitcoin podcasts. But it's mad to me that it's still not really made it into the mainstream narrative. And I think that's the exciting things about these events is that you see like there's going to be people that are going to walk past a talk that's going to be happening and they're just going to accidentally sit down and then they're going to have their mind blown by something that is, you and me, when we got into Bitcoin, it's about sending money, transfer, or we can do it, there's those properties. But if you can say that Bitcoin could potentially be the key to making energy costs lower for the general public and make infrastructure more viable. We've got the guy from Gridless coming. Okay. I don't know if you know that company.
I heard about it.
Yeah, amazing what they're doing in Africa by making all these energy generation places more viable because they build these big, like they got a big dam or something. They build it, but then it's not a viable business model because the people in the villages can't afford the electricity. Yeah. So, but if you put a Bitcoin miner in there and you become the first and last purchaser, then that allows the infrastructure owner to be able to offer costs of electricity cheaper to people in the villages.
What time is he talking?
That one I don't know, but the agenda is alive now. So anybody that is interested,
we will put it somewhere here.
Yeah. Anything, and if you go on it was a little bit delayed being launched just because we had and we've still got a few big names to announce this week. I think there'll be at least two more that will be announcing this week. And the agenda's fully live now. So there will be a few times changing as people. You can't imagine you've got 4 people from 4 different parts of the world all want to talk on a subject, and you have to put them all together and make sure they're all happy with the right time and everything. So it's taken a little bit of time this year just to get the program into a good spot. But the agenda's live now, so you can go and look out for the guy for Gridless. Go and look out for Simon Dixon's chat.
Michael.
Michael's will be interesting. We've got plenty.
Greg, how you see, just to go, because I like to plan in the future always 5 years. Imagine Bitcoin MENA 2030. How you envision the region, the adoption, and everything else, that everybody come together? Do you think we will need the whole city to come to Bitcoin MENA 2030?
I love that question. Yeah, I always get not they don't hate me for saying it, but I always say to sort of my American colleagues that I believe that this event in this region could be bigger than our US event.
Yeah.
Because this place has always been so strategically important in the world, right? You know, Silk Road, all that back in the day.
Yes.
But then now, obviously, what's happening with the sort of what seems to be coming out with a bit more regional stability, the energy abundance, the sovereign wealth of this area. I mean, I'm super bullish on this area. I mean, I live here now. I'm going to be here for the foreseeable, but I'm bullish on this region and I'm bullish on Bitcoin. So maybe I'm the wrong person to ask this question because you're going to get a really bullish answer. But I think that this event, I mean, we were aiming for about 5,000 people in the first year. We had nearly 9,000 in the first year. We're trying to get up to, you know, above 12,000, between 12 and 14 is our target this year. But obviously our partners, ADNEC, have got a huge, we're in the Marina Hall at ADNEC, but there's a venue over the other side of the road, which is 13, 14 halls. They have huge events there. You know, in my future, let's say, if I would be able to say in 2030, like, how would I love to see this event? I would like to see it as an event that is big enough that will be able to sustain almost the size of the event that we had in 2024, but for each and every element of the Bitcoin industry. So you've got, you know, traditional finance area, you've got a mining area, you've got regulatory and all that sort of stuff. Then you've got like wallets and, you know, where I've seen some of the big super events that I've been to, and you've got all these kind of different areas that are all
like GITEX.
GITEX, there's different areas, right? Or if you go to IDEX, there's different countries or whatever. You know, I really think just because of the regulatory clarity, the amount of money here, the amount of energy here, the fact that it's just the center of the world right now where it comes to everything. I believe that this event in 2030 with the right sort of market conditions and the right, if, you know, unless we change, which I don't think we will, majorly change track as a country, I think this event is much bigger than what Las Vegas was last year, which is 40,000 people. It's taken us 7 years to get to the size of Vegas is now. But yeah, I think this event, look, Bitcoin's going to eat everything, in my opinion, right? Yeah. So whether it comes to, even if you don't know you're using, you said earlier at the beginning, I think maybe people should go back to the fundamentals of understanding how Bitcoin works. I mean, there's people that would say to you that people don't know how to use the internet or how the internet works,
but they
still use it. You don't need to understand. When you use Apple Pay, you don't technically need to understand how that works. So I think as long as we can somehow get across to everybody, which I think we're doing now, whether it be all the way from retail all the way up to the governments, as long as we can convey that why this thing is as important as we believe it to be and why it's anti-fragile and why it's perfect money, as long as we can keep conveying that message to more and more people, and the world keeps continuing to go in the same way as money printing and hyper-taxing and hyperinflation, I think it's only a matter of time before all of our conferences around the world are probably as big as probably as high as the Bitcoin. It will be definitely relative to the Bitcoin price.
MENA. Yeah, Bitcoin MENA, Bitcoin price. Greg, thank you so much for everything that you're doing for the region, for Bitcoin, and I can't wait to come to the conference. You will see me there creating content, talking to the people, and just being a Bitcoin Maxi again. Thank you so much, Greg.
Can't wait to see you there.
And I'll see you around.
Pleasure.
Thank you, everyone in Crypto G's, and I'll see you in Bitcoin MENA the 8th and 9th in Abu Dhabi.
Let's go.
In Abu Dhabi. You'll find it. Everybody will be there.
At the Marina Hall.
At the Marina Hall. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you.